Stan, the Knicks were determined to acquire Mikal Bridges, and they have been gathering up draft assets for years to get into the position to overwhelm somebody with an offer for a player they very much wanted. They didn't do it with Donovan Mitchell 2 years ago, but they did it today for Mikal Bridges. And what the Knicks are doing is trying to load up on big-time two-way wing players to take on the NBA champion Boston Celtics in the East. They get one with Mikal Bridges, and now they'll try to re-sign OG Anunoby, to bring back against the Celtics next year a group that can certainly score and, more importantly, guard that team. But there were other teams who wanted to get at Mikal Bridges. He has been a coveted asset around the league, just one of the really unique, versatile player who just fits anywhere. And now the four Villanova players are back together, 2 national championships at Villanova, and now they'll try to win a championship in New York.
And welcome to Draft Day. Excuse me for a second. Let me get Draft Day going properly. There we go. We are on the air, coming to you live from the Kings Court Studios. How is everybody doing? The lead up, the build up, all the rumors, all the talk, they culminate tonight. Round 1 of the NBA draft. Hopefully you had a chance to catch our show last night talking a little bit of draft, a little bit of Kings, a little bit of Mikal Bridges. How about the Knicks going all in? Grant said it so well earlier in the playoffs about the Boston Celtics taking risks. When you know it's your time, when you think you are at that point, you go all in. And that's what Boston did last offseason. New York seems to be doing the next thing. And going with their, as it's popular to say, Aaron Gordon move. However, this is much more than Aaron Gordon. You basically have the Villanova Wildcats running it back in Madison Square Garden. All right, let's get to it. Look, we've talked so much about the draft. We've talked about potential guys the Kings could pick, potential trades. I'm open to listening to more of those today. If you want to throw them in the chat really quick, hold on. Bane. With the 13th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Wait, we got to get the booze in there. Boo. Adam Silver always gets the booze. The Kings select Bronny James from USC. Can you imagine what would go on here in Sacramento? You guys remember Ace Ventura 2 when he leaves the house of the monks or the temple, whatever it was, and then all of a sudden these monks that weren't moving just start partying and going in the streets? Yeah, it would be the exact opposite in Sacramento if that happened. I want to talk a little bit more actually about this entire process. I think the Kings have done an excellent job. I don't want to slight them in any fashion or any way. They have done their due diligence. What I feel confident in saying, and I think it goes without saying, because it's been reported, the Kings' preference still is to trade this pick. Now, they are ready to make a pick. If a trade is not out there, there's no point of making a trade to make a trade. But what do you think is going to be the more interesting stories coming out of tonight? Is it going to actually be the draft picks or the trades that go on? You already saw a monster trade that we opened the show with the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. And how about Jordy Fernandez? His team's getting gutted as a first-time head coach. If I was a betting man, my guess is that was a discussion that Jordy knew was coming. Maybe not necessarily that move that quickly, but he knew they were probably going to be doing a little bit of rebuilding. They get a haul of draft picks, 4 first-round unprotected picks, 1 protected, and then some second-round swaps. But that's got to be a tough job to roll into. And you remember, we kind of had Brooklyn circled as a team that could be in the Malik Monk sweepstakes. No, way off there. Obviously, Malik's still here in Sacramento, Brooklyn going a different direction. But I go back to what I was asking. What's going to be center stage tonight? Is it going to be the trades by the teams with established veterans, established stars, or is it going to be the actual draft picks? I think it's going to be much, much more of the trades. You see things simmering up. You see things heating up. I think a lot of it, too, is sparked by the new CBA and the aprons. If you pay attention to my X, I posted or I retweeted Bobby Marks's post basically explaining the CBA and the aprons, or at least explaining that part of it. Because if you don't have a realistic shot of going after a title, you got to be smart about it. You got to conserve your resources. You've got to actually restock your resources when it comes to draft picks, because that is how teams are going to build contenders. It's not going to be unless you're a big market team like New York, which we saw last night. But other than that, you're not going to see teams that are going to be able to put 3, 4 big name guys on a team without a major penalty. There's also a few other things I want to talk about. You guys can call the show, as always. The restream link is in the chat. You can also call 916-399-3748. I should probably get that up and going. Yeah, so really quick, I'm going to take you on a side tangent. So anybody here watch, what is it? House of Dragons, I think it is. The spinoff of Game of Thrones. I never really got into it. So when House of Dragons came out, my wife's like, all right, this is your opportunity. We're going to start from fresh. I'll get you sped up, and then, we can watch this together. And so season 1 just blew right over my head. Season 2 just started. But the reason I bring it up, I'm sure I am not the only person that works from home. Raise your hand in the chat if you work from home. It's funny, I call this the King's Court, but kind of like in Game of Thrones and or House of Dragons, there's the Iron Throne and the king sits in the chair and everybody comes up and asks for something or needs a correction or a handout, right? Well, I could be bumping around this house for 4, 5, 6 hours doing my show prep, but the second I sit in my wheeling, my wheelie throne, everything's needed. Hey, Dad, I need this. Oh, did you get that? Wait. And before you know it, it's 2:32 and the show should have started. So it's funny. I guess I am in the Iron Throne and being asked a lot of before I come on the air, but it is all good. It's one of those quirks of working from home. And you know what? I am blessed to be able to be around my family as much as I am, because there are some people that have jobs that do not allow that. So anyways, we're going to get back to the chat. Let me get the Google Voice up and going. We are set and ready to roll. If anybody wants to call the show, there we go. Awesome. All right, let's get back to the chat. By the way, 8 o'clock tonight, Grant and I, we're going to be wrapping up the first round of the draft. Make sure you come back with us. Are we going to be talking about a Kings trade, or are we going to talk about a pick? I already see some of the popular names showing up in the chat. We can go over some of those as well. Bane kicking us off again. It's time. Get pumped up. What's everybody doing for the draft tonight? My guess is the Kings will probably be picking, if they pick, it's probably going to be around the 6 o'clock, 6:15-ish, 6 o'clock hour, 6:15. You get 5 minutes per pick. I guess the first pick will probably kick off around 5:10, 5:15 would be my guess. So I would say at 6 o'clock, have your butts planted to the chair. Finchy, what's up? Bane, no. C-Dog, a guy on NBA TV, has Holland as the number 1 player in the NBA draft. Well, he's 3-and-D. You can see why. And if you're going to put him as number 1, then, and I guess it depends on how you're defining number 1. Some people define number one as the guy with the highest ceiling. Some people define number one as the guy that's most ready to make an impact. Some people define it other ways, most experienced, youngest. It's so subjective. And I said it on the King's Court earlier this morning on the shoot around. This is the most subjective draft I remember in a really, really long time, which makes it so hard to predict. That's why you're seeing all of these mock drafts so different and changing. To me, the draft begins when Donovan Clingan is drafted. That is when the draft begins. I fully expect somebody to move up into that third spot and grab him, and Houston move back. But like I said, we're going to keep talking. We'll keep getting to the chat. Let's bring Jay in on the conversation. Happy draft day to you, Jay.
What's going on right now? How you doing today? And how's everybody in the
Doing
chat?
great, buddy. What's up? You ready for tonight?
Yes, I am. I think one of the biggest takeaways that's came across my attention that a lot of people haven't speaking about is the NBA Stipes draft.
Lay it out.
Since we do have our 2024 pick this year, that means our 2025 pick is going to be conveyed to the Hawks.
Correct.
What the stipend rule says is you cannot trade 2 first-round picks in consecutive years.
Correct.
So the only way the Kings can essentially trade this year's pick is if you trade with a team, assuming that it's going to make sense, is a team that is after us. So from 14 to 30, those are the only teams that we're available to trade with in a pick swap and future first round picks starting at the year of 2027.
Yeah, Bobby Marks kind of went into a little bit more detail on that. The guys that you're looking at are mostly behind you anyways. I mean, who do you got? You got Washington in front of you. That would take Kuzma out of the equation. You got Clingan.
No. You have Washington at 2, but you also have Washington at 26.
Okay, so they can come back in.
So
You got Reed Sheppard. So you got the Spurs, you've got the Rockets, you got the Pistons, you got the Hornets, the Blazers, Memphis, Utah, Chicago, the Thunder, and that rounds it out. So then you've got everybody else in the league. You've got the Heat after that, 76ers, the Lakers. The Lakers looking, from what I'm hearing, to be aggressive with their pick and or trade. Orlando, Toronto, Cleveland, New Orleans, who we've already said, the Suns, Milwaukee, and New York. So I don't know exactly how that we had. So Jay, we had this big discussion about this months ago before the draft because we didn't have clarity on it either. So if that's what you're saying, I'll take it on face value. I know Bobby Marks and a lot of the people that I've talked to have not brought that up. So interesting take. We will verify that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just from what my researches came to the conclusion of. If that is the case, obviously, you if we're already set to trade that 2025 pick, there's no feasible way that we can just go without a 2024 pick. Same thing with last year, we picked and then traded, I believe, for a team and then traded the player away to get someone off the books.
Yes, you got Rashawn Holmes off
there's
the books,
loopholes.
and then you go back.
Yeah, there's loopholes for sure.
There's I'm telling you right now, there's guys on every NBA staff or in every front office that specialize in this. This is all they specialize in, is basically the X's and the O's of execution and the rules, and can you do this, can you do that, what goes against the cap, what doesn't. So it definitely gets a little bit complicated. Jake Grant will be here at 8:00. This is the King's Court. This is our jam. We do it every afternoon. If you've not met me, I'm Ryan in Sacktown. Happy to have you with us. But Grant and I will be hosting tonight a post-game show. Jay, we'll take this one. We'll tackle it together. Steve, what are your thoughts on Zach Edey? I'll give mine first, and then I'll kick it to you, Jay.
For sure.
I think that his size is undeniable. I think that he is probably one of the better seasoned and better polished guys in this draft. For a big man, he doesn't come with some of the concerns that like a Wembanyama, a Chet Holmgren come with because of their body styles. He's built well, and he's a presence. Now, 3-point shooting, extended shooting, his release is actually a lot better than he's getting credit for, but he wasn't Purdue's coach, and C-Dog brought this up. They didn't need him to shoot threes this last year. Now, the limitation with Zach Edey is this. He does not get up and down the court very well. You have to be running a half-court offense for the most part. And Jerry Reynolds talked about it on Tuesday with us here on the Kings Court, that you would probably have to run a lot of zone. Now, he could work in the Sacramento system, but this is the hang-up for me. He had zero transition points last year in college. That is tough for a team that needs to get up and down the court and win the transition game every night. Jay?
Yeah. Zach Edey obviously is a specimen of a human being in regards to height.
7'3".
That's not something that you ever see. As far as his athleticism goes, I mean, anybody above that 6'11" mark is going to more than likely move a little bit slower than most of the people on the floor, which is okay though, because you're 7'4", so you make up for it in length. As far as him making fast, it's clearly an issue with a fast-paced team like the Sacramento Kings. When it comes to an overall talent level, and when you factor in work ethic, what could he possibly be in the future is the question that we all want to know. Me personally, I decided to look at the NCAA championship game last year with Purdue versus 2 7-footers going at it. You had Donovan Clingan and Zach Edey. And just from the first half, the main takeaway that I got was that pound for pound, I would rather have Zach Edey than Donovan Clingan on my squad just for the offensive firepower. Yes, Donovan Clingan is a great defender. Offensive Edey, 2-time national player, NCAA, back-to-back. He struggled a little bit, and Zach Edey was definitely there on an offensive standpoint way more than Donovan Clingan did, and it showed that, I would, if I were to pick, I would actually prefer Donovan Clingan, which is saying that you think that the draft starts after Donovan Clingan. Yeah, after this, if you have a minute to watch even maybe 5 to 10 minutes, you'll see like what I'm talking about. This
I've watched a lot of them. Yeah, I didn't watch the national title game, but I've watched a lot of Edey.
Well, to watch because you're watching both of those guys, 7'3", 7'4" guys going at it, and so you get to see who is really that guy. Because it is very easy to sit here and say, of course, you're 7'4" and you're going against a bunch of college kids. Sure, you can say that, and sure, that can be one of the reasons why you were so dominant in the last 2 years of college basketball. But then you're also going against the, association as well as the best team, who's also back-to-back championship, and you got to see how he exploited what he could. Even though they lost the game, he still seemed like the best 7-footer that game.
Yeah, it's solid take by you. Here's the thing that I like about Edey too. You look at his progression. His game grew every year he was in college. You even go back to his days before that, and he's only been playing basketball, I want to say, for 9 or 10 years. I forget. It's not a long time. He's not a lifetime player, but he's continued to get better. You can't deny the size. And could he work in Sacramento? Sure. Absolutely. Could you play him with Domas? Maybe occasionally. So I look at some of the matchups because Edey would, and center is a position the Kings have to address. There's no doubt about it. But I look at who Edey would be playing against with the second units here in the Western Conference. And those centers, sometimes they're more undersized. Sometimes they're a little bit quicker, but then it flips back to what you said, Jay. It's nearly impossible. It's very hard to guard a guy that big with that kind of size down low on your own. So the one thing that's hard to replicate between college and the pro game is definitely the speed. The speed is much different. And then the second thing is the hand movements, the chipping, the hedging, guys coming in and grabbing at the ball when you get it down low. Those are the things that the big guys have trouble adjusting
Higher
to.
percentage.
What's that?
I said also shooting at a higher percentage.
Shooting at a higher percentage is definitely part of it as well. So I think Zach Edey could work here. The question is, what's your expectation of Zach Edey? Most people that you read that have been tracking the draft for publications think he's probably borderline, a very, very good backup center, can start some games for you if somebody's out injured, but probably not an all-star. Probably not anything along those lines unless it's a perfect situation built around him. But he's very intriguing. The Kings have had trouble with size. As to your point, Bane, I don't think he's a rich man's Alex Len. I can see the comparison.
No, actually, yeah,
I think their games.
Actually, Alex Len ended up making like $40 million over his NBA career. So actually, he's actually a poor man's Alex Len when you look at it.
Yeah, I think their games are much different, although we kind of try to, as Kings fans, put them into a role similar to the one that they would be replacing, like Alex, because Alex really got more of those minutes than JaVale McGee did. And I think, honestly, if you look at the way the Kings played down the stretch, and that's what I'm looking at, I don't think enough people are really taking value into that. For the first time in Mike Brown's tenure, and although they were forced into it to a degree, that was Mike Brown basketball after the All-Star break. The defense improved mightily. Offensively, they slowed the hell down. It was a race to 100 points. They were out defending. They were winning what I call the special teams of basketball, which is turnovers, points off of turnovers. It's getting to the free throw line, getting your opponents in foul trouble. So an Edey in that sense works very well in a system like that, if that is going to be the style of play that Mike Brown wants to push going forward. We lost Jay. He's been having some Jay, dude. What's going on with your internet, man? Jay, you need to get on that fiber optic. You got to get on that fiber optic. We're going to go to the NBA guru in a second. He is with us. I want to get back into the chat really quick, get to some of your questions and comments. Sacramento, huh, Dennis? Interesting. Edey would be almost as bad. Not sure what that was pointed at. Adam, what's up, dude? All the way from Texas. Apparently the breakdown with the Bulls and DeRozan. Could he be a potential free agent we pursue? I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one. I'm going to, you know what? We're going to go to the phone lines. We got a phone call coming in really quick. And that did not work. Are you there? Kings Court. Try calling back. Was that you, TC? Whoever that was, try calling back. I'll get you linked up. Usually the first call sometimes has a little bit of an issue. We need a board op around here. That's what we need. DeRozan, no, I do not think he's a free agent that the Kings would pursue. And think about this. There are a lot of names. There are a lot of names that could be out there. Here's one, Andrew Wiggins. What do you all think of Andrew Wiggins? He's been dealing with a lot of stuff off the court. He's underachieved the last couple of years. Mike Brown has a good relationship, though, with Andrew Wiggins. Seems like that could be a position that needs to be filled with the Kings. C-Dog, aren't usually as many trades as expected on draft night. No, but this draft feels a little bit different. It does, because there's not as much talent at the top of it. There's not. And I go back to the subjectivity of it. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Get this working. Welcome in to the King's Court. Are you there? You know what? We're going to have to scrap the phone line for a second. There is no mic access. If you want to call right now, call through the stream, through Restream. We'll get that up and going in a second. Cody, Draft day, baby. Yes, indeed, it is. It is indeed. We are pumped up for it. And don't forget to be with us later tonight. Grant and I are going to wrap up the first round of the draft right here on If You Don't Like That. We are greatly looking forward to that. And bringing that up, why don't we bring in our man, the NBA guru, Zach? What up, dude?
I'm excited. This is one of the best days of the year.
It's a pretty good day. I'm not going to lie.
It's just too fun, man. It's just too fun looking at the players, the research that we put in before the draft and seeing what happens.
Yep.
But yeah, I just want to see I kind of want to see what you think. Your two names that you think if the Kings stayed at 13 and if they didn't trade it, what you think they will pick and the two that you want us to pick. That's realistic, you know.
Yeah, it's a good proposition. I think there's a late rush for one of them, or no, I shouldn't say a late rush. He got a last minute private workout with the Kings local product. You know who we're talking about.
You talking about Tyson?
What's that?
McCain? Yeah.
McCain, yeah, from Duke. He's a local product. To me, it comes down to Holland and it comes down to Tristan da Silva. To me, Tristan da Silva checks all the boxes of a Monty McNair guy. He is, by many accounts, and I agree with this, the most plug and play ready at that position right now, which is basically a 3-and-D. He can fill it up from beyond the arc if you need him to. And he's just as solid of a role player as you can get. And he's played 4 years at college. Monty loves that. I know it's a little bit of a reach. A lot of mock drafts have him going anywhere between 16 and 21. But because this draft, I go back to it, is so subjective, this is not, in my opinion, one of those best player available drafts. This is one of those drafts where teams are going to take preferences over best available outside of the top of the draft stack.
Yeah. Those two picks, Holland, his defense is great. His frame is great. But like you said, the Silva is more of the Monty pick. Holland would be completely against like the type of players Monty likes to pick.
Yep.
His shooting is a little suspect, but you know what, man, like if he is there, you got to kind of take him just because of the potential. I know his shooting is just abysmal. I think he shot like 24% or something from three, but we got to remember G League is a little bit farther three than the college players. That's number one. And, you know, there's a lot of shooting coaches that can help him out. And they've been starting to develop a little bit better. It'll be tough. You know, he could easily be like a Josh Jackson or a Michael Kidd Gilchrist who just never gets a shot, but his stroke isn't that bad.
No. His length too. He's got I believe it's a 6'9" wingspan, 6'10" wingspan. And his hands, quick hands, he can get in the passing lane. Jerry kind of said it well, kind of like a Derrick Jones Jr. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, I kind of hinted at it at the end of my point, but you said it too. It's what these teams feel like they can do to develop some of these guys. It's kind of like, it's like looking at a menu, right? It's like, oh, I'm really good at cooking with filet mignon as opposed to, you know, whatever, I don't know, chicken breast, like whatever your preference is, whatever you think fits your specialty, because everybody has these ceilings different for many of these players. And I would agree with you, Tristan da Silva's, his floor is higher than a lot of or most of the guys at that position in this draft, but the ceiling I don't think is nearly as high.
Right. Another guy that I keep hearing is Holmes from Dayton. He kind of fits those advanced metrics that Monty likes, but he's a little bit towards that bottom 18, 17, 20. He's kind of roamed around there. I don't know, what do you think about him, if you like a lot of his stats or
I'm not sold on him. I think probably Khalil Ware is probably the pick before him. He's got that longer, I don't want to say longer, but, you know, 7', 7'1" guy, a little bit leaner. I guess if we're going to put him in a category closer to a JaVale McGee body style rather than an Alex Len or a Zach Edey body style, I think that he has, I should say, inconsistency has not been his friend. Inconsistency has crept up on him, but his shot is pretty darn good. I've heard he shot it really well in workouts.
Mhm.
So, look, we've needed a guy. If Domas isn't going to be the guy that stretches the floor,
Right.
maybe a guy like he could eventually, but that's where I get into the problem, Zach. Like, he's not ready,
Right.
and the Kings, if this was a different situation and the Kings didn't run it back and their window was a little more open than it really is, then maybe you can take a chance on that. Maybe you can wait on a toe pick coming back from a partially torn ACL, but you can't if you're the
Right.
Kings. That's why they're trying to find
Pressure.
a trade that makes them better today.
Right. Yeah. I agree. The one also player I just want to throw out, Devin Carter, if he's available, but I just doubt it. He's going to be there at 13. I think that guy would be a great backup guard to kind of help us out in case Mitchell's gone. He's a decent defender. He's just short, smaller, 6'2", but he has a good shot. He can score too as well. So I kind of like both sides of him. He's just a little older prospect. I think he's like 22. So I do like Devin Carter. I think he'll actually be picked in the top 8 or 9. But yeah, like you're saying, the way the Kings want to play it right now, it does look like they want to trade it. You hear the reports about Finney Smith, the Cam Johnsons, and that'd be, like I said, I think it'd be good. I'd rather have Cam Johnson, but if we can somehow get a deal with Brooklyn, and the coach, knows us pretty well, right? So
you're going to get the friendship discount. Hey, Jordy, remember when we bought you dinner? Yeah, why don't you shoot us Cam Johnson in exchange? Got it.
Exactly. Just give, he knows the players pretty well from us, so maybe he can entice his front office to get like a Kevin Huerter from us, or a Huerter in 13 for Cam Johnson sounds pretty good to me.
Dude, I don't think that gets it done necessarily. It sounds good to me.
Do you think if we add Davion to that, does it get it done? Davion Huerter in 13 for Cam Johnson. It's close. It's right around there.
It's close. It's close because then you've got Davion guaranteed for another year. Then you've got the offer sheet on him. So the salary is still low this year. And Davion, to me, we've had this discussion. Davion Mitchell, out of what I consider the guys that are in consideration to be traded, the guys that are touchable. So the untouchables are your Foxes, your Sabonises, your Keegan Murrays, and your Malik Monks. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
Absolutely.
But outside of them, I think Davion probably has the most appeal to teams because Davion is made, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, chicken salad out of chicken shit. And when I say that, it's not that the Kings are shit. It's just this system. What he came from playing at Baylor is so much different than what the Kings do. He's really had to adjust his game. It was much slower at Baylor. It was much more half-court oriented. And Davion's had to kind of become a different player than he ever was in college. And you saw some of that paying off at the second half of the season and the end of the season. So I think teams are really intrigued by him. And Jerry Reynolds, even before Zach, he went on that burner, Davion, at the end of the season. Jerry thought he still has like a Kyle Lowry ceiling on him if he gets in a change of scenery. And I don't think that there's other teams out there that would disagree with that.
Yeah, that's a decent comparison. I think, just Lowry's so much bigger, which kind of makes him who he is as his play style and his defensive mentality. It's just Davion is just a little bit. He's like 6 feet, man. He's just a little small for just the NBA and what he can do and kind of his ceiling. But Kyle Lowry, I do think he can get better on a different team. I don't know if he can get to Kyle Lowry status, but I definitely think he can come get a little bit better. And I don't know if Dennis is saying Sacramento for me or for Edey.
No, he was saying it. He was saying it for Edey, but we'll take it for you. Sacramento, Gurumento. I don't know. I'm reaching here, Zach.
I like it, but the trades. There's we'll see. They got to get something done quick. There's only 2 hours left to make phone calls. It's exciting. I hope, but we do know Cam and DFS are getting out there for trades. And Kuzma, I just think that to get Kuzma, we're gonna have to give 2 picks up, and I'm not there yet for 2 picks for Kuzma.
No.
And I think that's what they're
Washington.
looking for.
So Matt George had the Locked On Washington guys on his podcast a couple weeks ago, and they were playing scenarios. And the one that the Locked On guys thought for Washington would get it done is Trey Lyles, Chris Duarte, Kevin Herter, and then the first round pick. It was either Kevin Herter or Harrison Barnes, and then the first round pick for
Gotcha.
Kyle Kuzma. And even still, you got to look at the Kings now that Monk's back. They need enough bodies too.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get? Where are they going to fill
tough.
the other part of the roster out? You know, you can't be like Phoenix. I know you can have a great first 7 or 8, but that's good for the playoffs. But the regular season, you've got to be able to go 10, 11 deep. And we thought the Kings had depth last year. Not so much, huh, Zach?
No, it's crazy. I always look back at that during the season, and I tell myself, like, we thought we had really good depth going into that season. We thought adding Sasha, Duarte, we're like, holy crap, like, this is going to be pretty sweet. We're going to have a decent bench, 10 men down there. And that was not the case at all. And if we're losing that much depth on depth that we already don't have, I don't love it. And for a guy like Kuzma, I like him. I think Kings fans are overrating him just a little bit. I think he's a little we love his contract. I get it. But his personality, his high volume shooting, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but his 3-point percentage isn't that great. And you just don't know sometimes what you're going to get with that guy. He's a little bit I don't know if he moves the needle for us. Depending on who we trade, if we can just get him for a Herter in 13 or something, yeah, I think it'll make us a lot better. But if we're trading, like you said, those 4 players, those 4 assets, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And, Kuz, here's what you also got to look at. Let's play these scenarios out really quick. Kuzma, you get him for a couple years, contract declines, which is a good thing, right? And to me, as long as Kuzma's played pretty good basketball, and sorry if you guys see me looking up, that's because I'm trying to fix the microphone with the phone line and do a show at the same time. But Kuzma has played really well in Washington, in my opinion, and he's made a good situation out of it. And he's one of those guys that you focus on defensively when you play Washington, and he's still done pretty damn good. So I think coming to Sacramento, playing with better players, he could still remain a fluid asset for them. So even though we're not there yet on what you need to give up, that's in category A. Let's go to category B, Zach. Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
What are you going to have to give up to get Brandon Ingram? And then realize you only have Brandon Ingram for a year. You have him for a year, $35 or $36 million this year, I think. And so you can't really, I mean, to me, if you're out on Kuzma, then you're definitely out on Ingram because he is not a transferable or a fluid asset.
Let me add one more name, Jeremy Grant. What's your take on him? I
like Jeremy Grant. I do. I just think it's trickier when you get into division, when you're trading amongst the guys that you are going to be playing the most or conference, Portland and Sacramento. Anybody that wants to go look this up, is there a trade history between Portland and Sacramento? Maybe Brian Grant. I don't know if Brian Grant went there as a free agent or if it was a trade, but I like him. There's a big price tag, but I think for the role that he would be stepping into, I don't mind it. How about you?
Yeah, I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's better than, like, I'd rather have him over Kuzma. I don't know if that, that's saying a lot, but I'd rather have him. He's long. He's like a long wing, and that's what we need. And he's a good scorer. I know there's injury concerns. It is a little bit concerning that he hasn't played like all of April for like the last 4 years or something.
Good point.
But there is an excuse that he was on bad teams every time, and they're just gonna try to tank and stuff. So you could see that debate in that side. But I wouldn't worry too much about if it's in our division. I get it, but we play Western Conference teams 3 or 4 times, all of them. So playing in one more game is not going to cost us too much. But it is an interesting point. I don't remember a trade recently with them, but we almost made a trade for Kuzma with the Lakers like 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that almost happened, but they came in.
You know, we're talking about all these names, and I'm glad you're here to talk about this with us. But do they want to be in Sacramento? You know, that matters. With the trade that New York just pulled with Mikal Bridges, he wanted to be in New York. Like, when you get that opportunity to go get a guy like that, you do it like New York did because it's a perfect situation. So, I mean, I guess we have no way of gauging that. But if Jeremy Grant's been playing in Portland, not all that different from Sacramento, probably get a little bit better weather, worse taxes, better fan base, haunted horse. Eat that, dude. And it fits with their schedule. You know, they've got different guys that they're trying to develop. And with Jeremy Grant, here's his contract. So next year he's making 29.7. The year after that, 32. The year after that, 34.2. And then 27-28, there's a player option for 36.4. So you have him for 3 full years. Right. So to me, that makes a massive difference. And I don't think that Jeremy Grant's been surrounded with guys that could make him better. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet.
I don't think so either. When he was in Denver, he was in a great spot, but he wanted the money, so he went to Detroit, which is fine. He didn't do anything there, and then he got to Portland, and he hasn't really done anything here. So I think he's got it in him. I think he wants to play. I mean, I'm just speculating here. I think he, as just a competitive NBA player, that he'd want to go to a team now to win, not be on Detroit and Portland for his prime years. So I think it's time for it. I think he would want to come to Sacramento. The price tag would have to be Barnes, Herter, a pick for sure. Would it have to be 2 picks? Probably Portland. That's what they're looking for. I just don't know if the Kings are willing to do 2 picks, but maybe it'd be worth it for him. Maybe. But I mean, would you do two picks, Barnes and Herter for him? That's a lot. But man, I don't know. I might do it. I might.
Yeah, I'm looking at their contracts right now, and I'm looking at their payroll, what they have in their pieces. So you got Sharp and Henderson in the backcourt, and outside of them, because they've got Brogdon still for another year, you've got Simons, and I think they're going to try to get off of Brogdon. $22 million, 22.5 for him. Portland's not going to want any piece of that. So you've got Simons still there. I would say a Herter and a Barnes work there. The question is, can they afford it? Do the salaries line up? You would probably have to throw another piece in.
Because I think Barnes is about 20, Herter's 15, so it's about the 30.
It's close, yeah. It's close. You're about $4 million off, I think.
Okay.
With his salary, because no, actually this year you're not. 29.7. So no, you would be on. I'm looking at future years. The question is, you got to look at Zach LaVine. This is a perfect example. These little clauses in contracts that we don't always know about. He gets a 15% bonus every year if he's traded.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me?
I'm not. I don't want to pay that guy an extra penny that he's getting in his contract. That guy, man, he plays half the year, and he's getting paid nice.
So he is. Bruce. So Bruce says, if we don't trade our pick away, I'm going to lose it if I hear how close we were to making a deal. It's annoying at this point. So, okay, well, Bruce, here's the thing. If you're hearing that they were close or trying to make deals, that means they're actually working in the background, because one thing about Monty McNair's front office is they keep things quiet. I mean, really quiet. So if it comes out, that means it was close.
There's 29 other teams. It's tough. Like, a lot of other teams got assets, and they're just going to swoop in at the last second. It's just how it works.
Yeah, and Bruce, I get the frustration. Yeah. Trust me, I get the frustration. It's like doesn't it kind of feel like the Kings are playing in the sandbox that nobody else wants to play in? Like, right. It kind of feels like they're on their own island.
Yeah, it's tough. Some player, you hear about how close we are to Siakam and the Kuzma and the Caruso and all these players. But I mean, if you're a fan, like if we're a close fan of another team, they'd probably be close to other trades too. It's just there's 30 teams and everyone's trying to. If you were a manager, you're going to try to get the best offer. So if you got the 13th for Caruso, you had Caruso, someone offered Giddey. Giddey is probably a better prospect than what you'd get at 13 right now. I mean, Giddey's 21. I'm just saying as an example, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's funny you bring that up. I'm not sure the Bulls are done. I'm not convinced Giddey is going to be on that roster opening day. The Bulls, the reason they didn't want 13 is because who do they want? The guy that I said the draft starts with, Donovan Clingan. They knew he would not be there at 13. So they took the Giddey route. Could Giddey be part of a bigger deal to get up to Houston's pick at 3? Because I truly think Clingan goes, if he does not go 1, he goes 3, and somebody's trading up to get him. And that's where chaos will ensue. From 3 to 14, the rest of the lottery, it's going to be completely unpredictable because teams, again, I'm going to say this, you are going to have so many. I would be shocked if we take the lottery. You know how the normal draft works. You got 5 minutes in between picks, right? And everybody's giving their take on who they think the pick will be. From picks 3, or we'll just say from when Clingan gets drafted to the end of the lottery, I venture to say maybe one analyst out of the 3 or 4 at the desk will get a pick or 2 right. Or they might agree on a pick. It's going to be that subjective with these teams, and there's all these smoke screens going up. Atlanta's doing it with Clingan because they're trying to boost the value of their pick because they're like, hey, we might take him, so if you want to get him, you better come get our pick. Because if you're Atlanta, yeah, you hit the jackpot by getting 1, but you didn't hit the grand jackpot. I mean, Alex Sarr, he's fallen off. A lot of questions about him. And then Risachet, he's got the body size, but I've heard he is still extremely raw. And sometimes he's taken the easier path rather than the path less traveled, according to some people that have followed him. So a lot of intrigue. I'm actually, if you like NBA basketball, if you like nuance, this is the draft for you. I can't stand drafts that are straightforward, Zach, where it's like, okay, LeBron's 1. We already know that. 2's going to be Carmelo. 3's going to be.
You need uncertainty. You need uncertainty. That's what makes it fun. You just don't know. Like, yeah, the talent's not there this year, but the uncertainty is what makes it fun. And that's why I love this draft particularly. Hopefully, in coming years, it'll be uncertain and a lot of talent. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, 3 is where it gets a little fun. 3, I think Reed Shepherd. I think he might go to Houston. Reed Shepherd is a guy I kind of do like. I've been reading up on him a lot, and his metrics, his defensive metrics, are just crazy. The only thing everyone just racks on him a little bit is he's on the shorter side. He's like 6'1" 3/4" or something. But that's like a 1/4 inch less than Steph Curry. But yeah, he's an interesting prospect because he can be sort of like maybe like a Caruso type player, just a little bit shorter, and has at least a better offensive game, a little bit better offensive game than Caruso. So it'll be interesting to see if that's where the chaos starts, like you're saying, from 3 to 14.
To me, that is, and maybe it starts at 2. It's just whenever that team makes a move or whoever drafts Clingan, game on. That is where it's going to be personal preference. Really quick, I saw Patrick in the chat, so I got this for you, Patrick. According to Woj, free agent OG Anunoby intends to sign a 5-year, $212.5 million contract to return to the New York Knicks. James Dolan pulling money out of every damn pocket he has in guitar case in the garage. They're trying to build a contender with Boston, Zach.
Yeah, that's I think they can beat them. I really do. With this team, they can actually beat them. Boston everyone had question marks on if they can be consistent enough to be at their peak all the time. This Knicks team can absolutely now beat the Boston Celtics. They're a top 2 to me. But it's crazy. I mean, people are saying, yeah, I don't know how the Knicks can afford this. I mean, this is the top of my head. You got OG who's making 40 million. Bridges, I think he's making around 30, 35, something like that. Brunson's making around 30-ish, 20, 30 million. You got DiVincenzo, I think, is actually on a decent contract, and they still got Randall, and they got. Am I missing one more? Josh Hart, making another
Josh
50.
Hart. Yeah. So that's enough. It's funny that you brought up Randall. We'll go over their payroll in a second because Brunson, he's going to be getting paid too pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Oh yeah.
He's got a player option next year for 25 or 24.9. You know, he's opting out of that.
Oh yeah.
He's worth more than that.
100%.
And to your point about New York, they got, I mean, it was attrition that caught up to them this year. They took it to the limit. Anunoby, that's what they were, scrappy. They were tough as hell. OG tried to give it a go. He couldn't. Brunson breaks his hand in the last game. This to me is an all-in play, like you said, and I freaking love it. But let's talk about Julius Randle for a second. He's got 2 years. Well, he's got 1 year left on his deal and a player option for 25-26 for 30, basically $0.1 million. Is Julius Randle maybe the odd guy out with OG coming back?
Yeah, I think Harkenstein is probably going to dip for some money
Yes,
from
I
other
think
teams.
Oklahoma City
Oklahoma
is
City.
very interested in him,
His
which
spotlight.
scares the crap out of me.
I'm already giving up OKC. They're going to be good for 10 years, so I'm just giving up on OKC. But yeah, if they can somehow trade Randall for that center position, like someone like a Harkenstein, and maybe just to shed some salary, that I think he is the odd man out. I think he just doesn't fit with the style that they got going on. Brunson's the man right there, and he got Bridges with him. Dante, I mean, it's crazy. Hart and OG, that's insane length, and it's going to be crazy how to see Tom Thibodeau, how he's going to run the guy that's played the most games like in the last 4 years to the ground. We'll see if he can make that happen. That'll be a nice added bonus to his resume.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Bridges is friendly. It's a good point by you, Dennis. I don't think Boston is still smoking New York. Boston may still be better than New York, but they ain't smoking them right now. And in fact, again, if Boston ran in, totally different story if New York's healthy. Let's just put it that way. I mean, they did so much without Randall, and that's probably what secured this. And to Jim's point, Jim, this is what it's all about. When your team gets close like that and you know that they're close, you go all in. It is time to do that. That's why what makes the Kings situation so difficult to navigate, because they're not there yet. I mean, they're not far from being there, but they're definitely not there with their lack of moves the last 2 years. So I think New York's doing the absolute right thing by mortgaging the future, because Patrick, hook me up here. How long has it been since you've had a championship in New York? Did you guys see the atmosphere at the Garden when the Knicks became relevant again? There's nothing like it.
Especially with the East Coast, how it's a little bit, I'd say, an easier path to a conference finals than the West. You just got to go for it. I mean, they were right there. They should have made it to the conference finals, beating Indiana. If they were healthy. I just hope that the front office tells Tom, like, hey, just keep it easy near the end of the season. Last few weeks, let's not go too hard on the players and play 42 minutes a game for the last month, just so that they just don't run into the ground in the last playoff series.
Yeah, no doubt. So here's what we got right now. This is per NBA.com. These are, and they have, this is not the picks of their staff members. They have pulled together a lot of the reporters that are doing mock drafts. The most common pick for number 1 is Zachary Risachet, who we've talked about. Sarr is number 2 to the Wizards. 3, Reed Shepherd. 4 to the Spurs. Remember, the 4 have 2 picks. or the Spurs have 2 picks in the top 8. Stephon Castle, 5. Mateus Buzelis. At the Pistons, 6, Stephon Castle or Donovan Clingan, which is interesting, even though Stephon has 7 votes for the 4 spot. Number 7, Portland, Cody Williams. Cody Williams is a very interesting player to me. He's the brother of Jalen Williams. He played 1 year in college. He battled through some pretty significant injuries. And helped lift that Colorado team to a tournament bid, which was a little bit surprising. And he actually played through a really significant ankle sprain. The knock on Cody Williams is his body. He is very, very skinny, very slender. He needs to muscle up, but he comes from a great family. Obviously, Jalen Williams has come out and had a lot of good things to say about him. What are your thoughts on Cody Williams, Zach?
I like Cody. He's obviously very raw, and he does need to add like some muscle and some. So yeah, I like him a lot. He can get to the rim a little bit, and his shot's not that bad. He's just very, very raw, and I think he'll get picked. I think in the top 10 to me, and as a little bit of a project player, but I think he'll be a good player in this league. It'll just take a little bit of time for him. But I do like his frame. Just not, obviously he needs to get the muscle and stuff, but he's a perfect wing stats. What is he, like 6'8"? He's got a good wingspan.
He's got a 7'1" wingspan.
Yeah.
7'1".
Excellent.
That's legit for that, for being on the perimeter there. He's only 184 pounds, as I said, but the upside on him is tremendous. I mean, very, very high. He could be special. You've seen what Jalen Williams has already done in Oklahoma City, and I'm not comparing them as players, but certainly as brothers, it's in the genes. They know how to play basketball.
Yeah, that family is just coming out with just great NBA players, and we'll see. I mean, I think he'll be picked in the top 10, and he's just got a little bit of work to do on his body. But man, his length, the stuff that you can't teach, he's got it. He's got the tools and the talent, and he's athletic. Get to the rim, and I like Cody. If he was there for us, I would actually kind of take him, even though I know we're trying to get win now, but. Man, I just think he could be really good in a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We're going to get back to that mock draft in a second. OG can't hang with neither Jason or Jalen, and Mike can't either. Plus, OG has an injury history. Yeah, and so do some of those guys that you just mentioned. They have injury histories too. Look, OG Anunoby has not been in a position like this. He has not had the support around him that he has now. So you got to put a grain of salt in that. When he was in Toronto, you had Siakam, sure, but it was the two of them. They were getting challenged. They were guarding the best players without a lot of help. So you put the unit around OG, especially those 4 guys that have played basketball together for a really long time, it completely changes how that team can guard. And that team guarded really well. New York was ferocious. In fact, one of the most memorable games for me this season, Zach, was when the Knicks visited Sacramento. I thought that was just a 1994 masterpiece, throwback, race to 100. Let's go, baby.
I loved it. That was and that was right at the start of the reffing where they were letting things go and stuff. That was just a great old-fashioned game, like you said. I disagree with AB. I think OG is going to be right there playing great defense on those guys. You got Michael. I think he can play great defense on those guys. They got the length. They got the tools. I think they can pick up a good fight with Boston. People shouldn't be dismissing New York right now. I know Boston won the championship. They look good right now, but, man, these Knicks got the team chemistry. The team chemistry is going to be up the wazoo now with all these guys that have been playing together in college.
There's something different about a team that buys in. Tom Thibodeau is, and Patrick knows this, Patrick's my guy from Long Island that tunes in every day, but there's something different when you buy into a system like Mike Thibodeau runs. It's just a different culture. There is a toughness, there is an expectation that is asked of you that is much different. It's a much different ask than many other teams and coaches in the NBA. And that's why it makes that much more of a difference when you have the right guys that buy into it and play that way. And for New York, that is the style New York wants to see. And as for Boston, for as good as they are, Zach, they can be really bad too. When they rely on that 3-ball Porzingis, by the way, there's reports out saying he might not even be ready for the start of the season next season. I'm still, even though Boston was the best team this year, they impressed the hell out of me with what they did defensively against the Mavs. I maintain to this day the game plan that they executed on game 1 for guarding Luka is the best executed and drawn up play plan I've seen, or game plan, in the last 20 years in the NBA. It was immaculate and brilliant. So they're that good, but they can also be that bad. I don't think they're untouchable just because they won a championship. No, I think that the East is still somewhat up for grabs.
I don't want to take anything away from the championship, but their run to the championship was a little bit on the easier side of the teams they had to play and the injuries that they saw on the other teams. The Dallas was a great win, great series, great ship. So I got to give them credit, but they can lose leads too. They lost like what, a 25-point lead in that game. I want to say 3. I can't remember if it was game 3 or 4 in Dallas, where they were just Dallas was losing by like 25 or something, and all of a sudden Dallas is down 3. So
times they almost blew leads a couple times in the series.
Yeah. So they can do that. They didn't, and people were saying during the playoffs like, hey, we haven't really seen anything great from you guys. So like, they should be stopping all these teams they're playing. They should be stopping the Cavs. They should be stopping the Heat. But they ended up doing well near the end. But like we said, like we're both saying, they're beatable. They're beatable. They're not like the one team that I've seen that's unbeatable was the healthy 2018 Warriors. That team and the 2017 Warriors with KD. I think that is like the unbeatable status where not a lot you can do for when they got those 4 on the team. But that's one of the, like, they're not at that Golden State level.
No, not even close. They're very good. Like you said, don't want to take anything away from them. They are champions. So they will definitely be something to deal with. Let's see what else we got. Let's get back really quick. So we left off at Cody Williams. We were talking about him. 5 of the writers have the Spurs taken Tajon Salon with the 8th pick, 9th. Ron Holland. There's 3 riders that have Holland going 9 to the Grizzlies. I think that pick's not going to happen. I think the Grizzlies are moving up to 3 to get Donovan Clingan. Zach, what do you think?
I think that'd be a good trade for them for sure. They can get that little type of shooter in the backcourt like that. But yeah, they do like him. I do think they're going to trade it regardless because they're kind of like in a win now mode scenario too. So I think they could want a player that helps them immediately. So I would just look out for that too. They've been in talks just like us for trading the pick, and they could move up and try to get a player that they like. I could also see them just trading out of it and trying to get like a Caruso or something. That would have been good for them if they trade that 9th pick for a Caruso or something to win now, because they want to win now too. They think they lost a year probably with Ja out for the suspension. Now they want to come back and
they absolutely, and Steven Adams too. Yeah. Grant said it. I said it. You got to watch the hell out for Memphis this year. They're going to be coming. They're going to be ready to play. Ja Morant's going to have fresh legs. So with all the talk about De'Aaron Fox deciding not to sign an extension and wants to see how the roster is going to shape up and progress here in Sacramento and wants to hopefully get a supermax, add another name that's going to be in contention for all NBA. That's Ja Morant. If he can keep his bottom on the court and out of trouble, he's going to be right in the mix of it. And Memphis, Desmond Bane, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're just missing that big man. And that's look, I'm not saying that Klingon is going to be a Steven Adams, but he's got a Steven Adams type of body, and that team is used to playing with a center that is physically that type of player that has that presence. So I think that's the way that they're going to look. I saw something really funny in the chat that I wanted to address. Where did it go? It's yeah, here we go. Manuel says, I'll be at the new Intuit Dome. When is the scheduled release? Dude, are you going for the game in the arena, or are you going for the toilets? You know, Steve Ballmer is putting more toilets in that building than any other building in the NBA.
It's going to be a crazy arena. That's just going to be crazy.
It's stupid, man. Why do you need that many toilets? Get out of here. I'm glad they're getting their own arena. They need to be a little bit separated from the Lakers, but you'll never be your own team in that market when you're sharing a building with that team.
I got to give props to
forget
Ballmer
about it
for just the passion he has for the team and trying to get them their own arena. And I know he'd probably make it a little too bougie, but it's fine. I want to go see it too. Intuit Arena. I'll see it at the Clippers Kings game next season.
Where they're putting it in Inglewood, right?
Yeah, it's Inglewood, right next to SoFi Stadium and right next to the Kia Forum. They're building it. I guess they're just going to be ready in October for the season, and they got that little fan section where it's going to be like some crazy fan section behind one of the rims, and so that'll be pretty crazy. Just some diehards just having access to that section will be fun.
Do you guys remember this was one of the first schools that I had seen do this, but so I went to San Diego State. I was part of the basketball program there. I got to see a lot of student sections traveling the country. Texas Tech was wild. First off, they wear those weird ass pants that the Indiana fans wear that are just the red and white stripes. I can hear Jerry Reynolds texting me right now for talking bad about Indiana. But no, like they knew everybody on the roster. They knew something about you. But Arizona State had the best student section thing I have ever seen. It was probably like maybe 10 years ago. They had this curtain that was right behind the backboard, and they would pull the curtain back, and it was the first row of their student section, and they would have anywhere between like 4 or like 6 people acting out like just a freaking silly like Will Ferrell style skit while somebody's trying to shoot a free throw. Mm-hmm. They would have like fake labor. They would like do all this stuff. It was the best thing ever, but I don't know if that's a good idea in the NBA to have fans that close like that. The alcohol consumption's gone up. The knuckleheads have definitely gone up. The stuff with Kyrie Irving in Boston drove me nuts during the NBA Finals. I thought that was way over the line, but different conversation for a different day.
I like it. We'll see how it works. I like the creativity and the new things that Ballmer's trying to do and just bring more passion to the game. We'll see. We haven't seen the NBA. We'll see if we've seen it in college. So we'll give it a shot. Ballmer, we just gotta let him do his thing, I guess, at this point. Just let him get whatever he wants in this arena, the toilets, the section, the fan section. I don't know what else he's gonna come out with, but we just gotta let this guy just hit his peak fandom, I guess, as the fan inside of him.
Yep. AB. So there is a diehard Clippers fan. Many may not know this. Billy Crystal is a massive Clippers fan. He has been Team Clippers since day one, y'all. So yes. Is Elroy causing problems in the chat, y'all? I'm seeing some stuff about Elroy, dude. Elroy, we're gonna act you. How about no?
How about no?
You are out of here, Elroy. You are blocked. Out of here, as Romy would say. You are done, my man.
Give him the wave. I'm giving him the wave. See you later.
Bye. Wait, there's the camera. Bye, Elroy. Progressive weighing in thinks it sucks that the Clippers are getting their own arena. It's gonna be in a somewhat shady area. What do you mean, Progressive? That's where SoFi is at. And the Clippers tickets aren't going to be anywhere near as cheap as they were at Staples Center. That is not just a Clippers problem. That is a problem in most cities here
I don't think they
that
were
have
ever cheap in Staples Center.
Progressive defined cheap.
Yeah.
You obviously know more about the ticket prices down there than we do, but looked even from the change from Arco to G1C, that was a big deal. We actually had some friends, and I am not Niner fan, can't stand Niner fan. It's all good. I can get along with Niner fan. I just don't like Niner fan. Don't make me go into my Niner fan rant, please. But we have some family members that are big Niners fans. Their family had tickets at Candlestick for 35 years, I want to say. And they were offered seats that were supposed to be the same at Levi's. And they were way higher up. And the personal seat license or whatever it was to own the seat was way more expensive just for that than they paid for their season tickets at Candlestick. So they were priced out of the market. Golden State Warriors fans, you know all about that. That was a big change from when that arena basically going from Oakland to downtown San Francisco. A lot of people priced out of that one as well. The techies are keeping that building full, though. It's nothing new. It's what happens. I mean, hell, if you got James Goldstein who wants to come sit courtside at every NBA game with a hot model wearing his 97-year-old Levi's and crazy jackets and hats and pay those crazy prices, let him do it.
Yeah,
let him do it.
I saw him at I was at Game 7 of the Kings Warriors last year, and I saw him actually just outside at the Jamba Juice, just having a smoothie by himself right after the game. So that was kind of interesting.
Who'd you see?
Goldstein, James Goldstein, the guy that you're just talking about, the old guy with the new girlfriend every day at the NBA games. It's just it was pretty funny just seeing him having that Jamba Juice. I see that guy at every big game on TV. He's sitting courtside.
Yeah, he is. That dude, yeah, good for him. He is done well enough in his life. Obviously, I believe the fashion industry that he has been able to attend many NBA games and get some pretty good access. 2C, you better not be Elroy. 2C, Elroy, you got a burner named 2C? I'm starting to get some Elroy vibes when you're saying we shouldn't have kicked out Elroy. Now, this is a good argument. We've got a lot of Kings fans in here. I think it's a fair argument. I actually agree with the argument. I've sat up in the second deck a couple of times. It is steep. It is tight. It is not comfortable up there. I completely agree with whoever put that. Manuel, yeah.
I can't bring my my older parents there because it's just too steep for them to get up there, and it's some of it's way. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I get they're trying to make it closer to the court as they can by making it steeper, but I do think there's not even cup holders, but the lower level get cup holders. Come on now, that's not right.
They did write a song about the upper level at Golden One Center. Let me see if I can pull it up for everybody. In the meantime, getting back to the mock draft, we've got. I want to talk with you in a second about Dalton Knecht because I think he's a really, really interesting guy to me. But let's fast forward to who the Kings have. 4 of the writers have the Kings taking Jacoby Walter. Zach, give me your take on Jacoby, and then I'll give you mine.
Jacoby, I don't like him personally. I don't like his game. I think he's just not there yet. I just don't like the fit for the Kings. I don't think there's better guards out there. To me.
Yeah. He's a Baylor guy. Look, there's not a ton of tape on him. I know he's got a decent wingspan. He's got a good stroke. I worry about his ability to create his own shot. You watch a lot of tape on Jacoby Walter. Many of his baskets are assisted. His teammates setting him up, coming off screens. And one thing the Kings, if you're going to take a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", they've got to be able to create their own shot. We saw this year that was one of the fatal flaws of this Kings roster. They had far too many finishers as opposed to creators. I said by the end of the season, the Kings had 2 creators or 2.5 creators. You had Sabonis, Fox, and then I gave Davion a half for what he did down the stretch because he was creating shots for a lot of people. But outside of that, almost everybody else on the Kings needed to be able to, be set up. They could not create their own shot, which made it so freaking painful at times to watch Kings games because the ball would be just passed around the center of around the 3-point line, and then before you know it, there's 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and somebody's got to chuck up a terrible shot. It was torturous.
Yeah.
By the way, there was a song that was written about the upper deck at the Golden One Center.
Oh wow!
It was actually a salute to the upper deck. I have a clip of it. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
All right, here we go.
I chose Wix.
We don't want to listen to your ad. I want the song. Here we go.
Presents Real Men of Genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Nosebleed Section Ticket Holder Guy.
Mr. Nosebleed Section Ticket Holder Guy.
Congratulations. With the help of 2 Sherpas and a mountain goat, you have finally reached your seats.
Touch the sky.
Tickets, check. Souvenir, check. Oxygen mask, check.
Getting dizzy.
From where you sit, you can see your house and Canada and Japan.
I see Okinawa.
The one thing you can't see, the game.
I know.
So crack open an ice cold Bud Light.
Those were the best ads ever. I am sorry. The Bud Light, Real Men of Genius. I was not going to come here and be like, 2 goats and a mountain Sherpa. I could not steal that from those guys. They are the best. The Real Men of Genius guys. I salute you too.
I love it. That's just creativity at its finest.
Pretty good. Pretty damn good. So anyways, Jacoby Walter, I don't want to say that he's got some Davion Mitchell in him, but I worry about that Baylor system a little bit and how it translates to the pros. I know some guys have worked out, some have not. And then rounding out the lottery, 3 riders have Tristan Da Silva going 14. So maybe we are not too far off with if the Kings keep the pick, that could be the way they lean.
Right. He fits, like we were saying, he fits all the metrics that Monty has picked in the past. He's got a good size. His ceiling is the only kind of thing that we don't know about. Like, can he be really that good of a player? But, he has some athleticism to him, and he's got good shooting. His shooting numbers are great. He is a senior, so he's a little bit of an older prospect. And but yeah, he's just right into that Monty pick, Monty McNair pick from his history. So it could happen. He's going to be around. Like we've said before, like you said before too, between that like 12 or even 10 to 15, 10 to 17, that the tiers don't differentiate that much.
Yep, they don't. And Dennis, because I trust you, I will put this up. Did I not just say this 25 minutes ago? Did I not just say Brogdon would be leaving Portland? And there it is. Brogdon reportedly on the way out, on his way to Washington. Interesting. Washington wanting to take on that contract for 1 year. What else could they be up to? And what's that mean for Portland? You get rid of Brogdon. You got Jeremy Grant possibly on the market. You need to refill the guards. Could a Kevin Huerter look a little bit better there?
Are the Wizards having a fire sale as we speak? What's going on? Is that happening?
This is, I told everybody that Grant asked me yesterday. He's like, is there going to be, more than one trade draft day? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was like, are you talking about just picks?
Yeah.
Or are we talking about players too? No, just trades in general. Yes, we've already had a couple of them. So things are moving. There has been Brian Windhorst sparked this a little bit, but he thinks Paul George could be a candidate in Golden State, which I find interesting. Doesn't seem like it would be a bad fit. I know our boy Jay has been a big advocate of Golden State going all in because they owe it to Steph Curry. We'll see. What do you think about Paul George? I think the Clippers want him back pretty bad.
Yeah, I think Bomber probably wants that guy bad. Like he wants to remain good with this new with a new team coming in. So I think the Clippers might just retain him. But if I think Warriors should go for him, absolutely. You got to trade a couple pieces for him or whatever it takes to get him. I think it'd be a good fit. You got to make the Warriors good still. If you got Curry, and he's still a top 5 player, 5 to 10, whatever. But he's I'm with Jay. I think they got to go all out and try to get Paul George. Paul George and Curry, that moves me a little bit. I think that's a good team if they can keep some of their, because they got a lot of young assets. Well, they got to trade them and just go all in with all those, the Kuminga, the Moody's, the Pozemski, the picks. They got a lot of them. So I think it's time to do something with them.
Yep, I don't disagree. And I think probably if you look at the two pieces, because the Clippers don't have to make a decision this year on Kawhi Leonard, but for all intents and purposes, you've got to start thinking about whether he's going to be in that long-term plan. We know the injury history that he's had. I know it all too well because he's a San Diego State guy. Seeing him grow from where he did at SDSU to what he's done today is incredible. That man's jump shot looked like a fastball when he came to SDSU from Riverside.
It's crazy how his shot developed. It is really crazy.
Yeah, and so I'm really happy for him. But getting back to that point, I think Kawhi is probably the more likely of the two that would not be in LA. I think Paul George is the one they would rather keep. So opt-outs are coming up fairly soon. We've got the looming Bronny stuff. Lord help me if I hear Bronny James's name tonight.
I think it's in everyone's contract that they got to talk about Bronny for a little bit.
Yep.
I think we got a contract that says something like that too, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's exactly what it says. We'll get canceled if we don't talk about Bronny. No. He's going to be a second round guy, probably around pick 55. Still shouldn't be a second round guy. Let's just go over that really quick. He's being drafted as a courtesy to his dad. He is an undrafted free agent. That is, if his last name was not James, he would have not been at the combine. In fact, one of my sources that I spoke to at the combine, who was attending the combine, they corrected me. They said it's not the combine, it's the Bronny Bine, because that's what the NBA made it about. I know Bronny's in New York right now for the draft. I don't know what the NBA is going to do to swing that, publicize him, because the second round's so much different from the first. Anyways, that's the NBA's problem to handle. But
the best thing I think for his career was to stay one more year. I thought that was the move for him to just get better and develop a little bit better offensively. I think he's got the defensive game a little bit going for him, but man, offensively he's definitely raw.
Yep. Okay, so Andrew, Derek, Dennis, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pose this to the chat right now. Here we go. I am Adam Silver. Let me get my pad ready. Hold on. I got to get out of the stand. There we go. With the 13th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Zach Edey, because Adam Silver always screws something up, from Purdue. Put ones in the chat if you agree with that. If you are happy with an Edey draft, if you want Edey to be the guy in Sacramento, put a one in the chat. I want to see how many ones we get, because this is going back and forth in the chat. Give me a one. Give Zach and I a one. We will monitor the chat. We've got 2 ones. ones, a 2. I didn't even ask for 2s, but Sea-Dog was on top of that. We got another 1. We've got 414 that have checked in so far today in the King's Court. A lot of 1s coming through.
That's a lot of 1s.
A lot of 1s. You don't have to put anything if you disagree, but if you want to put a 2, you can put a 2 or a 0, whatever you want to do. A lot of 1s. Okay, Mike Dizzle, he's saying 1. Flores is a 2. Edwards a 1. I'll keep putting these up. And of course, Finch. What's a 2, Connor? Come on, John.
We got a lot of
Zach
fans in here. That's
yeah,
good
this
stuff.
is interesting. We have got a lot of 1s. Sea-Dog, my bad. I didn't mean to put that up. He's talking junk to the 1s. Look at this. Okay. But I will say there's 414 that at some point have checked into the King's Court today. And that's not that many 1s when we think about it.
He's an interesting guy. The fit for the Kings just doesn't mesh for us. We're the run and gun. He's kind of like a half court type player. He's got a nice right hook shot. He's got a good free throw percentage. He can be an okay passer. I'm not sure yet, but yeah. I mean, there's so many question marks in every player in this draft, but for him, just the fit wise, I think at least for me, I just don't see it for the Kings and the run and gun that we need. And we kind of need that like Alex Len type, JaVale McGee type backup center for those backup minutes.
Solid point. I think one thing we're going to realize fairly quickly tonight or over the next couple days with what things do, whether it be trades, whether it be keep the picks. I'm also, by the way, I am heavily looking at. So this is not, by the way, Andrew, check this out, dude. Man, I went in Tahoe this last weekend. I'm not exactly in the gambling mood. I'd never played slots before, and all I wanted to do for my 40th birthday was eat at Hell's Kitchen and win a couple slots. Didn't work out so well, all right? So while I respect the bet, I can't take it. My wife would kill me, all right? She's already on me for losing $25 at the slot machines.
People are going to start posting a bunch of bets to you soon.
Yeah. In fact, that's what's left of my $25 from the slot machines. But you think he's going to go top 6? Interesting. I don't think he will. I would be shocked if he goes top 6.
Yeah.
Very, very shocked. Okay, let's play this game again. You guys ready? I want to see what the reactions are here. Here we go. Going out of the screen. With the 13th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Tristan da Silva out of the University of Colorado. 1s if you love it. Don't put anything if you disagree with it. I want to see how many Tristan fans we have in here. Is Tristan da Silva a name that you've heard outside of here? He's one of the guys the Kings have worked out. Derek, I know you're already a 2. You voted for Edey. Let's see. Let me go down the list of who the Kings have worked out. Finchie's a 3. Now Finch is a 3. It's funny that you say that, Dennis. It is really funny that you said that, Dennis. Somebody said the same thing to me, that you thought Francisco Garcia. But Dennis, Francisco Garcia was a pretty reliable piece on a really crappy team. So what if you took a Francisco Garcia and threw him into this mix with these Kings? I think it's a different situation. Did you consider that? Edwards saying 1, Dabrab, never heard of him. Interesting. Well,
Garcia would have been good in this era. He's the type of 3-and-D guy that
exactly. So let's run down the guys that have worked out for the Kings. We've talked about Zach Edey, Devin Carter, Jacoby Walter, Tristan da Silva, Cody Williams. Cody, I don't believe worked out for the Kings. That's my writing, so scrap that. Jared McClain worked out for the Kings. That was a private workout. Now, I thought the timing of the private workout was notable with him because it was after the Caruso deal fell apart. I thought that was really interesting because they're different players. Some people say McLean is the best shooter in the draft. I don't agree with that. I think Dalton Connect is the best shooter in the draft, or at least scorer in the draft. But he's a Duke guy. You all know the history behind Duke players here in Sacramento. It ain't great.
Yeah. Oh man, we don't want to bring those memories back.
No.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the Kings could be looking at him, but I don't know if he's a freshman, right? I just don't know if he's going to be the type of win now type of player that Monty's looking for. The Dalton Connect guy that you bring up, he's interesting because he's a little bit of an older prospect.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like a little Kevin Herter with a little bit more athleticism. Great shooter, but man, he's like what, 23 right now. He's just one of the oldest prospects in the whole thing. But a great scorer, great shooter. But yeah, his ceiling is nothing crazy, is what I'm thinking. But he could be like a Kevin Herter type, more athletic type of player. But we'll see. He's just a lot older, 23.
One of the scouts I talked to thought that Dalton could be a better version of Tyler Hero. That's a pretty damn good player.
Right.
That's a really good player. I don't disagree with some of the stuff you're saying. I think he is much more of a shot creator than Kevin Herter is. Much more of a shot creator. The guy's just a natural scorer. But yeah, that could be a very similar fit.
Defense is not great.
Defense is not great. That is a good point, Zach. Garcia could have benefited of a more defined role than he would get today. Say that again, Derek, or did I just read that wrong? Garcia could have benefited of a more defined role that he would get.
I think you're just saying like we're saying like in this era that.
Yeah, for sure.
Slot. Yeah,
he didn't play during the 3-ball there, right? The running gun and the positionless basketball, which has been terrible for basketball, which kind of I look at what the Kings did. So going back really quick to the list, I want to get back to this. Khalil Ware works out for the Kings, right? Jamison Battle works out for the Kings. Ray J. Dennis works out for the Kings. And Jonathan Mogbo works out for the Kings. All of these guys have something in common. Their length. All of these guys are long players. They're longer than their height. A lot of them are forwards and centers. So to me, and hey, dude, Zach, appreciate you coming on today. I'll get you off the screen so I'm not just reading over you. Great insight, brother. Be well.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
That is the NBA guru, Zach. So getting back to what I was saying, you look at who the Kings worked out. I'm going to go over the list again. Zach Edey, Devin Carter, Jacoby Walter, Tristan Da Silva, Boogie Ellis of USC. Let's get this fixed. There we go. Boogie Ellis, UFC. We already said Edey. Khalil Ware, who we've talked about, 7-footer. Lot of potential there. He's got a 7'4" wingspan. He's raw, but he could have a fairly high ceiling. Then you've got Jamison Battle, power forward, Ray J. Dennis. He was a point guard, and Jonathan Mogbo. And then you add in Jared McLean, who was the point guard. So the timing of the McLean workout to me was interesting because I don't know if it was and this is just my thoughts. This is no reporting. Yes, McCain. Sorry, I said it wrong. I don't know if it was just my take on it, but it seemed like a due diligence play. It could have been very well one of those things that he's a local guy. The Kings are known to sometimes work out local guys, but it made me think they may be leaning towards that position. But then I look back at the other guys, and the length is what the Kings are looking for, and who can plug and play the earliest. And all this is a moot point if the Kings move the pick, which that seems, and I said it at the top of the show, moving the pick is the preference. They have been they're targeting the guys that they like. That would be the preference, but they are prepared and ready to make the pick if they need to. And it's going to be a fun draft night. Keep your eyes peeled to it. We are less than an hour away from the draft kicking off. Lids, I'm going to end on your question because I will give you a player who I think it will be if they use the pick. So I will end with that. But let's see, not that they would offer, but hypothetical, would you trade Keegan Murray for the number one pick? Absolutely not. Not in this draft. No chance at all. Baby Cakes, what up? Domas, midi needs to happen, but won't change. Edey offsets Sabonis weakness. Brown's small ball isn't. So I'm not sure if you were here earlier, Baby Cakes. What I was saying before, what'd you just say, Horse? Ryan's going to say they're taking Bronny. No chance. If Mike Brown, if what we saw at the end of the season, let me reset this really quick. If what you saw at the end of the season last year, this last season, was what we have been told is Mike Brown basketball, that's make the other team feel you, that's a race to 100 points, if that is truly Mike Brown basketball, then a Zach Edey could fit in to that in a sense because of the space. Now, the Domas midi, here's the thing. Everybody's like, Domas needs to get the midi. Domas has got to be able to shoot the three ball. Yes and yes, but you don't need them at a high clip. You saw what happened this year when Fox chose the three ball, and I get that the defense also dictates the shots that you take or the decisions that you make. You got to take what they give to you. But the Kings, their free throw attempts were down 16% this year, over 16%. Their made free throws were down 21%. 21%. That is a lot. And I'm not putting that squarely on Fox, but Fox is one of those guys that gets the defense moving when he's getting to the rack, when he's getting by people. And so the trade-off that you get there is, yeah, you don't get the extra point if Fox is taking it to the hoop and getting a deuce or going to the line or setting somebody else up that goes to the line. You don't get 3 points, you get 2. But the other things you get along with that, the free throw attempts, the fouls on the other teams, the quick breather during the free throws, those little things add up in an NBA basketball game. Getting the other team in the penalty. Jerry Reynolds and I talked about this at length on Tuesday here on this show. Those things add up. And so that all mixed together was part of the problem with the Kings this year. They were missing that element of what they had their playoff year. So getting back to the Domas midi and the three ball, you don't want Domas taking too many threes. You don't want Domas taking a ton of middies. But what you want is Domas to be able to step up confidently into a mid-range jump shot, step up confidently into a three-pointer, and be able to make it, be a threat to make it. Domas is a great decision maker. He is just not a quick decision maker. That's another part of his game that he's working on. He almost always makes the right decision, but sometimes there's some hesitation. Sometimes there's that. You've seen it with the three ball. He'll hesitate for a second. You see it with the midi where he's completely wide open because the defense is laying off of him, and Domas will kind of, do I shoot it? Do I go there? Do I go there? What do I do? Right? No. Domas has got to be able to step into that thing and stroke it confidently. You don't need a lot of them. He's just got to be a threat to do it. And that's what opens the floor for everybody else. That's what makes all those different options off of the DHO options that you have to respect. You don't know if he's going to give it up, if he's going to go with it. Hell, what happened to the give and go in Sacramento? That was a bread and butter of the 2002 team. That's been out the window. Bring it back. You've got the guys that can do that. It's a fundamental part of basketball. So you mix all those things in. If you are doing those things or you are a threat to do those things, the defense has to think about multiple things or multiple moves you could make from that one spot. Last season, the defense only had to worry about the Kings pulling a 3-ball. That's all they had to worry about. So this Kings picture where we think it's broken, yeah, it needs to be. I'm not going to say it's broken. There's improvements that need to be made. There's no doubt about that. They took a sidestep last year. It was a sidestep. It was not a step back. You could argue it was a step back. It was a sidestep. You look at their offseason goals last season, and they met them. Now, they weren't very high. It was rebound better, especially offensively. Kings took care of that, did that very well. Rebounding overall was up 0.01%, but at least it was up. Blocks, way up. Steals, up. So the Kings took care. They got more depth. It just wasn't the depth that they needed. They weren't the right players. So I guess what I'm saying is a lot of the things that we see as liabilities or problems from last season might be more correctable, self-correctable already with this roster. Now, that being said, this Kings roster has to improve, and it starts tonight with the NBA draft. Do the Kings keep the pick? Do they trade the pick? We will see in the next 50 minutes. I would guess the Kings will be picking around 6 o'clock, 6:15. Make sure you're tuned in by 5:45 at the latest if you don't want to see any of the stuff leading up to it. But in my opinion, Donovan Clingan, when he gets picked, the draft starts. I doubt it's going to be him at 1. Most likely going to be Zachary Risacher, guy from France, big dude, very raw, very skinny, but very high ceiling as well. And then second, I would expect Alex Sarr to go. And third is where the draft starts. I would expect somebody to try to move up into a position at 3 to get Clingan. So it has been a fun draft prep show. Make sure you come back with us later tonight. Grant and I are going to be here together doing the draft night 1 post-game show, round 1. So we will know then if the Kings made a move. Moves have already started happening. I said Brogdon was going to be gone off of Portland pretty soon, and 25 minutes later, it gets dropped by Woj. We got the news during the show of OG Anunoby, my man Patrick, with a big smile on his face going into tonight. He is going to be signing a max deal with the New York Knicks. So I promised you my pick. Here's where I land. There is a big part of me, a very big part of me, that thinks Edey is in play. I do think that is a consideration. Now, ultimately, I do believe this pick will be traded. But if the Kings pick, which I know they are ready to, if they end up picking, Edey is in the conversation. There's no doubt about it. There's intrigue around him because of the size in the Western Conference. Both of your teams that made the Western Conference Finals both play 2 big men. Think about that for a second. Jerry Reynolds has said he thinks the gate is swinging back to the center position, the big men, where the power might come back down low as opposed to out on the perimeter. So with that in mind, I think Edey is a viable pick. I also think Holland is exactly the kind of guy that the Kings want. A 3-and-D, good length, 6'10", 6'11" length. 3-and-D guy, but the 3 is not there yet. He played with the G League Ignite. Now, his defense, spectacular. He could be a much better Derek Jones Jr. I think the Kings are very intrigued with him. Ultimately, if the Kings make this pick, I think it will be Tristan da Silva out of the University of Colorado. For this reason, Tristan da Silva is ready to play right now. He is the most plug-and-play ready guy, and the Kings need a 3-and-D guy. They needed a 3-and-D guy yesterday. Tristan da Silva is that guy. He hits the checkbox or the check marks with Monty McNair. I think ultimately, although it might be a little early, I think Monty, maybe he trades back, maybe he doesn't. Tristan da Silva is the guy that I think the Kings ultimately land on. If it's not him, I think it's going to be between Holland, McCain, and Edey. Those 4 guys, I think. And Kellel Ware, there's some consideration there. I just don't think he's quite ready. I think he could be picked, but if those are the 5 names, I'll end it there. I'm gonna give you 5: McCain, Edey, Ware, Holland, De Silva. De Silva, I think, has a neck up on everybody else, but it is damn close. We will know pretty damn soon. The NBA draft getting ready to kick off here in just a few minutes. Jerk's saying, "What's up, dude?" He's saying, "Evening, gotta be Kuzma." We will see. Could it be Jeremy Grant? The Portland already making some moves. It's going to be a fun night. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Kings Court. Again, do not forget, Grant and I are going to be back at 8 o'clock tonight. This was a really, really fun show to do. And look, it's been a fun lead up to the draft. It's a 2-night event. We'll see if the Kings do anything tomorrow, but we will know. We will have a better indication of what this Kings team is going to look like next season, the next time we are all together, which is in just under 4 hours here on If You Don't Like That. And remember this, if you are a Sacramento Kings fan, if you are a member of the Sacramento Kings front office and you laid out your different scenarios from best to worst this offseason, the Kings are still in their best scenario as we sit right now before the draft. You already got a commitment from Malik Monk for 4 more years, the 4th year being an option. You got that early to where he didn't even test free agency. Huge. Let's not discount that. Now, it's not as huge as let's celebrate him like the mayor's suggesting. I agree with Grant on that. But you have Malik Monk. You've got everything going in your favor right now. Tonight, the Kings have the board in front of them. They can trade. They can pick. One thing that I know, this team will be different the next time we get together at 8 p.m. tonight. Thank you so much for being here again. Give me a holy moly, Jim Bob Bowley.
Holy moly, Jim Bob Bowley.
Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Enjoy the NBA draft. We'll see you tonight, Grant and I, at 8 p.m. with the post-game show for the draft night 1. So long.